ethics, and he said if you have table topics that are already written about ethics, feel free to include them. So, for our first question, often the most popular choice isn't the right choice, even to ourselves. Does anyone have a situation that is a conflict of, as Immanuel Kant would call it, duty and desire? And would they be willing to share it? And possibly how they felt about it.
Tough choice.
Long story short, the idea is, have you ever had a conflict between what you or other people wanted to do and what you felt was actually the right thing, and what did you do in that situation?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the best way to go is I get a call from my best friend. Ring, ring, ring. Oh, there's a job opportunity. So I go there. And you know how for most jobs you apply, it's a lot of work, you have to prep, do a resume. So I show up all fancied up in my jacket, in a tie and all that. I notice there are 50 other people in the auditorium with me who had the same opportunity I did. Turns out it was a pyramid scheme. So what we ended up doing is, I wanted to make a little bit of money, so I stuck with it a little bit. I liked some of the information, and I liked the compensation they gave you. And what they would do is they give you a vacuum, and a big, fat, expensive $3,700 vacuum, and you'd be expected to sell it to people. So it's the kind of business where they would teach you to go into somebody's house for 4 hours and twist their arm until they bought that vacuum, and you weren't leaving with that vacuum. So talk about a conflict of interest. At first it seemed like a really nice sales job. Okay, whatever, it's a luxury item. No problem, I'll go into houses and do that. Well, then I started realizing that the houses I were going to and the leads I was handed were like single moms who like were upside down on their mortgage, just in the red, just total households where they should never get this freaking item. So I'm going there and I'm supposed to convince this poor young woman that how much is your health worth to you that you get this $3,700 vacuum because you need it for your kid? See, I couldn't do that, so I didn't really succeed. And so to deal with that kind of crisis, to deal with that kind of dilemma, I just decided to quit because I realized that there's a whole different world of sales, and plus the guy was a total greaseball. He had a warrant in Colorado apparently for fraud. Yeah, that guy was a total would throw your keys on top of a car depot. Like, if you came in to buy a car, he would take your keys and throw them on the roof in order to sell you a car. And so he did teach me a whole lot about how to hard sell, and I've learned that I don't want to apply any of it. Thank you.
Could we go through all the topics before we... Okay. Abraham Lincoln once said, if it makes me feel good, I do it, and if it makes me feel horrible, I don't do it, and that's my religion. From where do you derive your ethics? God, family, fear of swift judgment from the law? A combination of these? You wish to go up?
Yes, sir. Hello, dear professors. I think that ethics and values go hand in hand, and I would like to share with you guys where I got my ethics and values from. They came from a mixture of my religion, my parents, and my personal experiences in my life. I think that my religion played a big part because being Catholics tells you a lot about how you should behave, how you should live your life, and how you should treat other people. So my family always instilled those values in me, and we went to church on Sundays, and that's something that I carry with me today. However, growing up is a process of finding which of those values you want to keep and which you want to adopt and implement as you become an adult. So as I was growing up, I learned that I didn't want to implement all those values, and I didn't really believe in everything my parents taught me, but I did believe in some of those things. So my current ethics are a mixture of, like I said, the things my parents taught me, the things that I learned from my religion, and the things I learned from my everyday experiences. Thank you.
Delving into...
Can we
do time requirements for those who don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So time requirements for this is, as Garrett said earlier, up to 2 minutes. So at 1 minute, you'll see this green card, and please try to stay up until you see this green card. It makes it a lot more fun. At yellow, it's 1:30, and at red, 30 seconds to wrap it up. Sorry to interrupt, Garrett.
Moving on to a special interest of ethics, business ethics. Has there ever been a company that you know of that has gone above and beyond your expectations to earn your admiration? Or the inverse, is there a company that has done something so vile and disgusting that you would never use their products again? Elliot?
So this isn't so much a company, but this is my first job. I believe I was like kind of late 16 or 17 at the time, and it was at a bowling alley in the snack shack. So for those of you who don't know, bowling alleys are kind of fun, but I wouldn't stay there all the time. A little dirty, a little grungy sometimes, you know. And it was in the snack shack. So I was in the hot, dirty, greasy kitchen where the only things we made are French fries and like chicken fingers and burgers. And to top that all off, it was just horribly run. I don't even know all of the intricacies of the things that were going on, but they were like, oh my god, there were bar fights all the time. The people that worked there were all like intermingling and socializing and like doing stupid things. The people that worked there like didn't care about the employees. I didn't even know who my main boss was. To top it all off, the worst part was that my older sister was a bartender slash like cocktail waitress there. She got me the job. She was like, you should work here. And I was like, okay. It kind of sucked. and fortunately though, I only worked there for a couple of months until I got an awesome job lifeguarding. Really good high school job, everybody, if you've done it or heard about it. And I left right after Keek the Sneak was arrested in the parking lot for doing cocaine. So it was pretty fun. Thank you.
Has there ever been a higher power verdict that you disagreed with? What did you do about it, if anything?
Is it higher power?
Like your parents deciding something for you, or I guess if you want to be really like hardball, the Supreme Court saying something that you disagree with. Okay, next question. Apathy. Is there a class that you've ever taken where you just couldn't get into it, and what did you do to survive?
Ooh, that's good.
Thank you, Garrett. Fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests, I would like to tell you about Biology 103, the history of plants. Now, I'm a computer science major, and so I really get into really technical things and really cool stuff like machine learning. How can we make computers make smart decisions for us? How can we deliver a better product at the end of the day? But in this major, we have certain requirements that we have to meet to be educated according to California State University's standards of education. And one of these is a life science requirement. And I realize I don't have a timer, so I'm going to assume that I make the time, by the way. So this requirement is met by one of maybe 3 or 4 classes, one of which is Chemistry 1A, which they highly recommend against, Biology 103, the history of plants, and some other random class. So I ended up taking Biology 103, and it ends up being the worst class I've ever taken in my entire life. It's just the most boring sack of junk. Just who cares about the embryonic stem of a peanut, really? Like, I feel bad if you're a bio major and I'm just ragging on you right now, but the way to get through it is just to keep those goals in mind, to realize the commitments that you've made and hold steadfast to those commitments. And just really try to remember that you're not in this to learn about the monosaccharides, polysaccharides, whatever saccharides. You're in this to learn about computer science and what you're interested in. And to do that, you've made a commitment, and you need to fulfill that commitment. Mr. Toastmaster.
Is there one type of news that you can't stand and you wouldn't mind if it went away forever? For an example, are you tired of hearing about the Kardashians every week?
I kind of took it, but...
Oh, okay. Go on.
I opened my laptop to CNN, and the headline is Ferguson declares a state of emergency, ISIS beheads somebody, Obama threatens veto, and reality star dies. You know, all these things in the same breath. And the reality star dies, whoever that is, because there's at least one a week. At least one a week. Whoever that is, it's not news. It's just not news. These people are not celebrities. Kim Kardashian's ass with champagne pouring on it. It's not news. Unfortunately, she has not been one of the deaths yet. No, we're hoping. It's not news. I don't know what it is. It's voyeurism, or it's when you watch like Pageant Mom or Storage Wars or one of those, and it's that habit of we say, at least that's not me. I'm much better than that trash over there. Maybe that's one of the reasons we watch reality TV. But any kind of those news, especially when it's the crawl or it's the background news going on, when people make it a headline, when people make these kind of pointless people to be headlines, and it takes up actual news from the other 210 countries in the world, that's what I can't stand. Unfortunately, somebody out there keeps clicking on it. Otherwise, that wouldn't make like the top front page. So if you could all just stop clicking on the reality star dying out. Great. Unless it's Kim Kardashian's corpse, then we're okay.
We have about 12 minutes left, but I'm out of topic. So does anyone want to do a previously mentioned one? Let's take a guess. Jennifer, correct?
Yes, the higher power one, but can you repeat the question?
Which one? The one about where you get your moral compass, or the one about the higher power verdict you disagree with?
Higher power verdict.
Okay, so
Higher power verdict.
is that enough of an explanation? Is that enough of an explanation? Okay. Just want to make sure.
So about the higher power verdict. So I was 14 years old. I was going into high school as a freshman. And so there was this guy that I liked since like the 8th grade, right? And I had like this huge crush on him. And so then freshman year of high school, in like, I think it was like October, he decided to ask me out. And I was like super excited. We went to Starbucks and we're walking to school. And then he finally like asked me the question, like, will you go out with me? And I was like, oh yes. And so then I was 14 years old. And since I have traditional Mexican parents, they don't allow us to have boyfriends at that time. Well, for me, exactly. But they didn't allow us to have boyfriends at that time. And so I decided to keep it a secret. And so we went out for like a couple weeks or so. And then, so I guess some people started finding out. They started telling my mom. And so then I decided one day just to like tell my mom and dad, like, Dad, I have a boyfriend. And his face turned white, like he just was just like, and so I was like, uh-oh. So then I went to go tell my mom, and she was kind of more like strict about it. She's like, no, you cannot have a boyfriend, you're 14 years old, what are you thinking, blah, blah. So then she was like, you need to break up with him. And I was like, no, like I started crying. Like I was like, I can't, like I like this guy too much. She's like, you can't have a boyfriend right now. And so then I was like, okay. So then it was Christmas, and he gave me a little teddy bear with like a necklace around it. And right after he gave me the gift, I broke up with him. And that was like the worst mistake ever, because I started crying. And I was just like, I can't believe my mom made me do that. And so being the good daughter, like I wanted to be the good daughter and have like the respect, but I ended up losing him and not being able to be trusted by my parents anymore.
I saw a lot of hands go up. Anyone else?
The first one? But you can do the guess first.
The one I'm going to do is terrible class. Okay, so about last semester, I took a math class, and I love math. Trust me, I used to be a math tutor. I love it. It's a passion for me. I had a professor. I came in. I was just like, oh, I'm so juiced. Let's go to class. You know, who's juiced about math, right? I am. And so I sit at my desk. I even have my textbook. I have my paper, my pen, everything that you need. And what do you know? The professor comes in, and I'm like, oh, cool. All right. You know, seems like he's really into math. He starts speaking, and he's like, hi, we're going to be talking about this topic, and it's about robots. Robots and math, numbers. I'm just like, okay, there must be some logic to his madness, you know? No, it was not. He just talked about robots and how they work and this and that and history about robots, and I was just like, oh, that's valid information. I even took notes, you know? I was like, maybe there's some logic to this madness. Yes. No, it really wasn't. He was assigned homework. That was actually math. Homework was your class, honestly. You would just come to class and he would talk about plants, robots, the system of outer space, and I never really got to learn into that class, but I actually just went to class so I can, you know, get your attendance and everything. And literally I'll be the student in the back, like literally falling asleep. But I did my best. I still got an A on the class. So, I did everything, my homework, I participated as much as I could. But overall, that was the worst class ever.
It's my understanding that you have a topic that you would like to discuss.
Yeah. Could you repeat the first question again?
The first question was a popular choice versus the right choice.
Okay. Popular choice versus right choice. Just a second.
Did anybody else want to?
Well, okay, yeah, Joey or John, did you want to go?
Where's that?
Okay, you can go.
I'm going to do one about the news that you hate.
Is that you want to? Yeah.
So there are these things in our society today that are just so pervasive, you just can't escape them. You like log off of Facebook, you run home, you like dive under your blanket, and still you just can't get away from it. You can still hear the Frozen theme song going in your head. But that's not what this speech is about. The speech is actually about TV shows. Oh my god, especially like season finales. It's just like talking to my friend, you know, just like, hey buddy, what's up? Oh, you know, what's going on? Oh my god, the Breaking Bad finale, did you see it? It was mind blowing. I'm like, no, I didn't see it. I'm taking the wind out of your sails and kind of enjoy myself. There goes your, just torpedoed your whole conversation there. So I'm like, okay, whatever. He's like, okay, no biggie, no biggie. Silence. The Game of Thrones finale, did you see that one? No, I didn't see it. I don't care much, but a bunch of dirty peasants in some dirty location on some dirty television. It's just not a thing. So he's like, okay. Silence is coming. I can see the next one coming. I'm like, ready. I'm like, bring it on, man. Let's go. Orange is the New Black, which from my understanding is about some like plant engineered black oranges or something, right? Like, I don't know. So I'm like, no. And then I go home, I'm checking Facebook, and it's just like bam, 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 bam. They just keep going. I'm like, ah. My mom's like, Joey, come eat dinner. I'm like, fine. Go out to the kitchen, sit down, eat my steak. Mom and Dad are talking. Did you see the Game of Thrones finale? Ah! Get me out of this house, I'm done.